Hello everybody, Smartman Customs back for another video, and in this video I will be showing how to make your own custom made figure. This is part 1 of, I don't know how many parts yet until it's finished, but this is going to be basically a mini series on how I got from this to this in only 6 months. So let's get into it. So for this series of tutorials, I'm going to be making Blondie from The Good, The Bad and The Ugly, who you might be able to see back here. So because I think that his character, like a minifigure of his character, will have a lot of the different techniques that I want to show you in this series, including fabric techniques and molding with green stuff, or you can probably do the same thing with other polymer clays. And yeah, let's go on to step 1. So step 1, let me try and focus on that. Hang on. Step 1 is to research your character that you want to make a minifigure of. This is very important so you can print it out and have it next to you while you're making your custom minifigure, because it's basically just a reference so you can keep looking at it while you're making your custom made figure, just to check that you've got like the right facial expressions and everything you want in your custom made figure. So what I like to do is I find action figures such as this picture here, and actual Lego custom made figures that people have made, such as this one here and this one here. I also, for example, from this, I watched like part of the Good, the Bad and the Ugly film on YouTube and screenshotted different parts of it, such as this scene here, and basically put it all together on a publisher file, printed it out, and that's my reference for making this minifigure. Then on to step 2. So step 2 is to basically sand your minifigure, because when I first made this minifigure here, you can't really see it that well because the camera isn't focusing, but basically when I first made it, the paint was scratching a lot, and then I watched MGF Customs video, and I think it was Makes Minifigures video, and they both said to sand the different parts that would scratch so that there's no contact with other paint on the minifigure. So you're going to want to do this, disassembling your minifigure into all the different parts, so individual legs. Sometimes this can be a bit hard, but you just need to pull as hard as you can. Sorry, that's just one of my minifigures falling off my desk right there. And basically you just pull as hard as you can to try and get it off, and it will come off eventually. It just sometimes might take a bit of force. So I usually like to do this on a wet wipe so that any like small pieces of plastic and like basically the plastic equivalent of sawdust, don't know if it'll still be called sawdust, but the little bits of plastic that come off when you're sawing it, this will basically collect them all up, they'll stick to the wet wipe, and then you won't need to like worry about the different little bits getting in your paint while you're painting your minifigure. So let me just try and focus on this Lego leg right here. So what you do is you get either a nail file like thing, or something you can sand with that's quite precise. So I would recommend nothing bigger than about 1 centimeter in width, and you basically sand the front of like the round part of the leg, so like the part that kind of like comes out here, and that's the best I can describe it. You basically want to sand that, and then once you've done that, you're going to want to do the exact same on the top. So then that is that done for this step for sanding the leg, it should look like this. And then what you're going to want to do is kind of like even it out so it looks more like it originally did, but just smaller. But you want to try and avoid sanding any of the flat face here or any of this part around the side. And we will get on to more sanding on other parts of the leg soon, but not yet. Right, so once you've done that, you should get to a stage where you can basically move the leg without any of the plastic, like on this tiny little line right here, touching the hip piece. So it should get to this sort of stage here. So you have now sanded your legs, if you are following the video, and they should not be like touching, sorry about the bad focus in there, but they should basically not be touching, you can kind of see vaguely there, they shouldn't be touching like the hip piece when they move, because otherwise, as you might guess, paint will scrape. So obviously the legs aren't the only part of the minifigure that scrape, there are also the arms, and you don't really need to worry about the head because like even though the neck would scrape against the top of the torso, I don't normally find that that's a problem. I don't think a lot of other customizers do either, so I wouldn't worry about that if I were you. So now on to the next part that you need to sand. Now there's kind of an option here, so you can either sand the sides of the torso, like this side and this side, and you can, so that the arms don't scrape, or you can scrape the inside of the arms here, it's up to you, or you can sand both. That's what I've done on some of my minifigures that have trench coats. For example, the Joker here, you can kind of see he has a trench coat, so I sanded the arms and the torso, but it's completely up to you. For this tutorial, I imagine that the torso would be a lot easier to kind of just work out yourself than the arms, so I will be doing the arms in this tutorial just because, yeah. I found that the Lego Harry Potter wand pieces fit really well in the little holes in the arms there. They fit perfectly almost, so they can just fit in there. And then I would recommend that as kind of like a handle for while you're sanding your minifigure. Doesn't matter if you don't have it, it isn't essential, but I would recommend for when you're sanding the minifigure down on the arms. And you basically want to sand the whole bit of, on this figure, the grey plastic here, whatever the colour of the arm is, but I would try to stay away from the hand, otherwise the hand just won't look good on your minifigure. If you want, you can take the hand off, just to make it a bit easier, and I do sometimes do it as well, but it's completely up to you. Just wanted to point out, if you are doing the torso, make sure you don't do anything above the arms, otherwise it won't make any difference, because they won't, basically the way that it works is that this bit of the torso scrapes against the arm, not the whole bit, and if the whole bit's down, then the arm will go further in, which will mean that it goes against the plastic just as it was. So you just need to sand this bit right here. Now, seeing as my minifigures are normally for display and for taking pictures for Instagram purposes, I don't normally make it a huge priority that the paint doesn't scratch, so if you want to see someone else's tutorials on this, then feel free to go and see MGF Customs, or if Moosefigs does one, then any of those good guys out there. So yeah, it's completely up to you. So when you've sanded your arm to a stage where you can kind of see the light coming through like that when you're bending it, that's the kind of stage you want to get to. And it's normally pretty much almost. So you're at the stage where you know that if you sand any more, then it might like kind of start coming away, and you might start to see the hand or wrist, and it will be exposed, which you do not want. So that's probably the limit I'm going to sand for that arm. And then once you have sanded the arms, and you're going to need to do this on the legs as well, which I'll show next. Because paint likes to scrape off on corners, I'd recommend kind of like going on the edges here, just sanding them just a tiny bit so it's even and just a bit more rounded, just a little bit, just so that the paint sticks on a little bit there when you are painting it. Now for the legs, I would recommend getting something about the same size. This one's pretty much the right size. If it isn't, then these normally have little like the same sort of thing on the small edge, which you can just go on. It won't be as even, but it will still do the same job. So you basically want to sand that little edge there, this edge here. You just see I'm sanding it just a tiny bit because it really doesn't need to be sanded a lot. And if you want, you can also do that on the belt up here. I would definitely recommend that, because that's normally where it scratches off the most. And yeah, in the next part of the video, which is now. So now your minifigure is completely sanded, and it's got like nowhere where you would be painting where it would scratch at all. Such as here as well. Just that clean sort of look to it. So that's going to be it for this part 1, and part 2 should be coming out sometime soon, because I always want to get on with making minifigures, and I'll be filming it every step of the way for this minifigure, apart from boring parts because you don't want to see that. But yes, so I will catch you in the next episode. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you got this far in the video. I'll really appreciate it. Leaving a like will help the YouTube algorithms, and subscribing would really help out the channel and help me to produce more content like this. So if you want to catch the next part, I'd definitely suggest subscribing and turning on post notifications, so then you'll get a notification when part 2 does come out, and I will make a playlist of these when they have all come out. So thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. See you then.